You sent out in the grapevine, Charlie, that you were coming, conversation, Life and Times, Charlie Heinz, and there would be no conversation, that nobody would be permitted, because you put that as a stipulation, to talk about last year's Pittsburgh Steelers. So sticking true to that, whether you would select Terry Bradshaw or Ben Roethlisberger as your starting quarterback.
Ben Roethlisberger in a heartbeat.
Right.
Absolutely. Durable, consistent. Right now he's in his prime. Absolutely.
Well, I know Terry Bradshaw's about 70, but I mean,
Yeah, he's kind of goofy now, don't you think? Yeah.
And you've been a Steelers fan for like ever.
This will be my 45th year of season tickets. 1950, you have to add a year, but our first year was 1970. My dad took me to games before that when I was a kid. He was a big football fan, and we would alternate. One year he would get Pitt season tickets, and the next year we would get Steelers season tickets. Back in those days, Pitt Stadium, as you may know, is this cavernous place, and college football, and it was rarely full. And in those years, nobody wanted to really go see the Steelers. In Forbes Field, then in Pitt Stadium, ultimately at Three Rivers. Last time I was with my dad before he died was at a Steelers game. We went on a Sunday. He'd had a stroke earlier, and a great group of people that would sit around and would help him get to his seat. And so we spent that afternoon together, and he died the following Wednesday of a heart attack. So, yeah. And for me, going to Steelers games, yeah, it's about the football, but it's also a lot about going home and being comfortable in those surroundings and repeating a lot of things and kind of reliving your past. So,
Was Bobby Lane part of your dad's and your world?
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Bobby Lane and more quarterbacks of little repute.
Rudy Bukic?
Rudy Bukic. Bukic could stand on the 50-yard line and throw a ball and hit the goalposts on command. Left post, right post, left post. Unfortunately, he couldn't hit a receiver 5 yards down the field. But Rudy was, Rudy Bukic for sure.
See, I grew up as a Steelers guy, so excuse us for a second. We'll get to whatever he did at Chautauqua. Big Daddy Lipscomb was my kind of the hero, and I don't know particularly why, but he seemed to be dominant.
Yep, absolutely. He was big.
And Tom Tracy?
Tom the Bomb.
Yeah.
Tom the Bomb was a little guy who played fullback, and he succeeded a fellow named Fran Rogel, who was the fullback when I first started going to Steelers games. And everybody would chant in unison as the Steelers broke the huddle for their first play. They'd go, "Hey, diddle, diddle, Rogel up the middle," because that's all they ever did on the first play, first down.
They got John Henry Johnson.
John Henry Johnson, exactly. He was actually good.
Of course, their rival at the time, and still is the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
To you, are they the Antichrist?
The Ravens are really the Antichrist. See, with the Browns, you need to actually have a rivalry in order for it to be hatred. Now, I have to say one thing. I made one mistake in going to Steelers games. I took Jerry Grice to a Steelers game. He has Browns season tickets. Mm-hmm. The Browns won 53-0. 1989, opening day. They won 53-0. I kept saying, "Let's go." He said, "No, we're not." "It's boring. Let's go." "No, we're not."
Quiet ride home.
If in an environment like the Steelers, where it's all season tickets, I have sat Heinz Field, that was named after me, by the way. I've sat with the same people now for 12 years. And it's interesting, when you go into those kind of an environment, they have no idea who I am. They have no idea what I do. They know I live up here somewhere. They know I'm married. Wendy's been to one or two games. I bring my grandson once a year. That's all they know about me, except that we bond at Steelers games. And we talk and chatter and yell and boo and, the whole deal. And the guy who sits in front of me, his name is the guy who sits in front of me. I have the Chulak brothers next to me, a son and his dad and his uncle. and there's Nick, and there's somebody in front of him. But, you know, it's like you are bonded just about that experience for 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon.
Same, you have the same sense. I mean, I don't have season tickets probably, but with the Pirates?
Well, I don't get to many Pirates games, so.
Is
no.
that your team? I mean, it continues to be your team?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Here's a ball one, too high down to Mazeroski.
Where were you in 1960 when Mazeroski came up?
I was on the second floor of the Princeton University store looking at a little black and white TV going nuts.
Yeah.
Has hit his second World Series home run over the left field barrier 406 feet away, and the Pirates are the 1960 World Champions of baseball. And Jack, you could employ a lot of script writers and pay a lot of money, but try and write a better finish to a ball game or a more exciting one. Chucked in the very first pitch down here to the last one, which Mazeroski hit over the 406 line to win it and make the Pirates world champions. This ball game was filled with drama, excitement. It had everything, and the Pirates are the world champions of 1960 on Billy Mazeroski's home run, leading off the last half of the ninth inning.
Because that summer, my family, we would go to church, and then I would take the streetcar down to Oakland and sit in the left field bleachers with sandwiches that my mom had made and watch the Sunday doubleheaders.
Yeah, yeah.
And yell at Bob Skinner.
Yeah. Does he remember you?
No.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of us yelling at him, so my voice didn't stand out. Yeah.
Is that, I mean, as you reflect back on your youth, sports figures do become part of that. Is there a role model in that group?
Oh boy. You know, I don't think so. Back then, I don't think we knew as much about the players as we do now. You know, they had personas on the sports pages, but I don't think we knew. I didn't, at least as a young kid. I didn't know that much about their personal lives and so forth. So not really from a personal standpoint. There were, you know, I wished I could field a baseball like Bill Mazeroski could and so forth, and that wasn't to be the case. But, you know, so I had idols, favorite players for their on-field. My least favorite player in baseball, I was telling Wendy this story today, they dedicated the statue of Hannes Wagner, which was outside of Forbes Field in Oakland. And I went as a kid. There was a game that day, and they did it before the game, so I was going to the game. And the statue was here, and the Pirates lined up as though they were like on the third base line, and the Cincinnati Reds lined up like they were on the first base line, so they were in this kind of V around the statue. And the one and only time I ever asked for an autograph, I went up to the last Cincinnati Red at the end of the line to be a pitcher named Art Fowler. And I asked him for his autograph. He said, "Beat it, kid." He was my least favorite player ever.
Yeah. They got rid of him shortly thereafter. Bob Prince?
The gunner, the best. Bob Prince, the gunner, the broadcaster, and Jim Woods, the possum, his sidekick.
When you sit on the back porch of your house, you do sit in a special seat, don't you?
I do. Seats originally from Forbes Field, when they were demolishing the stadium, Wendy went down and there was piles of them. And she bought 4 seats, and they are original seats from 1909. I've researched it that far. And they are on our back porch, and she paid, I think, $20 for all 4 of them, or maybe $10 for all 4 of them. And they're sitting on our back porch now. I've had to paint them a couple of times, but they still look really pretty darn good. Then when they tore Three Rivers down, they were selling seats, and they were $200 for 2 of them.
And you don't have any of those?
I have 2 of those.
Oh, 2 of them, okay.
There's 2 for $200.
Good. Whitney sits next to you? Like the good old days down there?
Actually, she doesn't. No.